Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's The Darkest Timeline. Episode 301, baby. That's right, 300 episodes gone. Heading into the next 300, I guess. Today we are talking about more ups and downs of the fasting nature. Watching classic movies. And what it was like to do 300 episodes of the podcast. There's TV and a variety of different computer game related things. No movie this week, I'm afraid. It's kind of covered. There's other bits that are covered, but yes, no movie this week at the moment. So there's that. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and share the podcast around. That's the big one. It's the main one, the one we like the most. Share it around. Somebody might enjoy it. They might say thanks. And yeah. Right. Let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, The Darkest Timeline. Hello. How you doing? You good? Good. It's not Monday. Yeah. We'll be dealing with that one shortly. But for right now, it's not Monday. I have mixed feelings about this. My evenings / free time, very precious. However, this was all self-inflicted, so meh. And for good reason. But that's just a little taste of something to come, because we've got other stuff to discuss. So let's get into it. I had a difficult fast last week. I sound like a broken record at the moment. I appreciate that everything seems to be spanning from, etc., from this one topic. But as I was saying last week, and I probably overused the word or term or whatever, I am on this journey. And there's a possibility that someone out there might actually be mildly interested. So, difficult fast last week. I've said this before, if you look at a 7-day fast, 2 of the 7 days are tough. And in the experience I've had so far, it's usually either day 2 or 3. And, as you might expect, the second to last or last day. Whereas that's as expected, last week was hard. And if I'm honest, it does seem to have been getting harder recently. There's been this element of being more hungry more of the time. Those early fasts, those first few fasts, the ones that I did to sort of test the waters, they were easy. They were too easy. The ones where I'm like, I haven't eaten in 13 days and I could just keep going. At that point in time, I forced myself to eat something, because where was it going to end? Then, each subsequent one after that, there was like 2 points in time over 7 X number of days, whatever, where I'd be like, oh, I actually feel hungry. And the rest of the time, I didn't. That's not the case. There are like actual days, like full days of being just hungry, starving. Today's been quite bad, if I'm honest. But last week, there was a couple of points in time I nearly broke. There was a couple of points in time where I was like, I might have to call it. I've had that this week, but for a different reason, which I will go into. So it was a really difficult week of fasting. So what you would think is, getting back to eating, getting back to having some food, going through that process again, using the jaw for other than, talking, would be fantastic, would be wonderful, would be great. I broke my fast on Wednesday, and I managed to get it through to lunchtime, which again is one of those, it's a bit of I wonder how far I can push it. Got through to lunchtime, got what I was going to eat laid out, got it all set up, ready to go, started eating, was like, yay, and within 90 seconds of starting eating, I went, I don't like this. I don't want this. I'm not enjoying this. This was a terrible idea. It was a terrible idea. This was the worst possible thing I could eat. And just all of that a culmination of that time that I've just got to get through to tomorrow. I'm going to go to bed early so that I don't have to deal with it. All of those things to then come crashing down with, I don't like this. I don't want this. I basically had to eat what I'd made over the rest of the afternoon. There were points in time where I couldn't even stomach the idea of eating anymore, and I had to have a break. I had to have a drink. I had to just walk away from it. It was crazy. Now, as the two days wore on, and honestly, I will hold my hands up on this one. It was one of those situations where I started in the afternoon on the Wednesday, went all the way through Wednesday night, Thursday, and I did go to lunchtime Friday. There was a reason for that. It was a silly reason. It was I opened a packet of something, so I'm going to finish that, and then I'll start fasting from lunchtime. Technically, still only 2 days of eating, but spanned 3 days, if you see what I mean. There's this weird element of hurrying to get back to fasting. There's that element that I know I'm just putting on weight whilst ever I'm eating. My body's just absorbing all of those calories, filling out the muscle again, but it's also filling out those fat cells. So it's this real difficult balance. Again, another one, I will hold my hands up on this one because I'm fully aware that what I'm eating is not the best. It's not the best, but that is not the phase. This is still phase 2. However, phase 3 is coming fast. I've been using my eating days to also spend a bit of time on my cooking, trying to get I just make lists of meals that I want to cook, and I look up recipes and I watch videos and I sort of boil it down, pun intended, to the version that I want to make. And then on my eating days, I cook. It takes hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and the majority of the time it's a good outcome. I'm trying to think what I made. I've been ticking my list off. Oh, I made a Thai green curry. Been absolutely itching to make a Thai green curry. So yeah. I'm not going to lie, I was kind of glad to get back to fasting, and we will talk about this current one in a moment. Also, not going to lie about this, I am starting to develop a little bit of a concern around the fact that let's be real here, my eating disorder has flipped and turned into a opposite eating disorder. So, things to be aware of, things to watch out on. And I have that thing where, me and Leanne talk at length about what's going on, what's happening, and there have been those questions of, but what are you going to do when? And I'm like, well, we're not there yet, but there is a plan, and that plan is very much centered around maintenance, and if there's a point in time where you need to drop a couple or a few pounds, that's still possible, doable without this extreme. I'm very much aware that this is an extreme / cheat. And honestly, I wouldn't, I've had a conversation with like a couple of people where, at no point in time have I ever said, we should do what I'm doing. This is just this. Let's change subjects for a bit. I and my eldest daughter finished watching the Back to the Future trilogy. Absolutely not going to talk about those films. I honestly don't know what I'd be able to add to the many, many, many years. Is the first Back to the Future going to be 40 years at this point? Because it's set in 1985. So presumably that's 40. It'll be the 40th anniversary. That's mental. To be fair, I was having a conversation about Master of Puppets yesterday, and that was 39 years old yesterday, ironically. So I'm not gonna talk. I'm not going to talk too much about it, other than the fact that I've had the opportunity to do that. I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and just how grateful I feel to have been able to have that opportunity, to have that experience with a child of mine, my eldest child. I don't know if I'll end up doing it. I don't know if I'll end up doing it another 3 times. There's a possibility that it might be another 2 times, because I might be able to get the two younger girls at the same time, get them to watch them at the same time. And it's one of those. There's been this sort of shift. My eldest had absolutely no interest in watching those films. And then one day I was doing the whole, I'll tell you what film you should be watching. And it was around about the time that I bought them digitally cheap. I was like, I'm pretty sure I saw all 3 of them on sale digitally for I think it was something insane like £4. And I went, buying that now. Just as simple as that. In that scenario, you're not buying it, are you? You're not buying it. I did the same with the Rocky movies. They were like, oh, do you want the entire Rocky box set digitally for... And I think, again, it was like £6 or something. And I'm like, I absolutely do. Yes. I thought it was a scam. And then it was like, oh, check your library. All of them are there. I was like, okay. But recently, I've been out walking the dog, or I've been wandering around, or doing whatever I've been doing. And I've been like... I feel really fortunate. I feel like this sense of pride, this sense of whatever. We've had these conversations. I've sort of been through with her that if anybody tells you that Back to the Future, whichever one they pick, is their favourite, they are simultaneously right and wrong. because there is no such thing as the best Back to the Future. I think, like, we were talking, like, obviously you've got the first one, it's the original, you've got the second one, it's the future one, and it's got all the future elements, and the third one is Western. At the point in time when you think you can't get any more weird and wonderful, you get a Western. And it's not even a Western, it's a love story, and all of this stuff. I was going through this. I think there was a point where she turned around and she was like, I think I like the third one the best. And I was like, I can see why that would be. But I have this list. Of films. Some in my head, I've written some of it down. And I'm like, the movies to see before, I've got a book somewhere, like 100 movies to see before you die. And I went through and I was like, I've seen 89 of these. So I have this list, and these are the films that I've had throughout my life that I want to pass on to my children. At some point I'm going to convince one of them to watch the two Ghostbusters movies. Which of my children will finally watch a Star Wars movie? But Back to the Future is way up there on my list, and we've done it. So we did 1 and 2 back to back. Had a break because she was also watching the Oceans trilogy, and had the third one left, so she watched the third one to get that trilogy done, and then jumped back in with Back to the Future 3, and just it's weird. It's weird. These are the things they don't tell you about being a parent, that you can feel such immense pride over something that is in some a lot, maybe, ways kind of silly. But I mean, I've known those films from the original point in time where they came out. I've known those films for 40 years. Carried them with me for 40 years. I've owned those films on every media format known to man. And then to be able to say to a child of mine, here, we're going to watch this, and I hope you like it. And for them to go, I really enjoyed that. It was great. It's like, yes. So it's been a nice experience to have. Like I say, we ticked off the Oceans movies. The Oceans trilogy is one of those. 1 and 3 are good. 2, not really. But we chalked them off. I need to actually update her movie list. And I do, like I say, I do look at my other children and have that. Oh, what are me and you gonna watch together? I was told me and my middle daughter were gonna watch the first animated Batman film. So I was like, cool, that sounds awesome. I'm really excited for that. I'm really looking forward to that. Tried to put it on one day, and she was like, I don't want to watch this. Like, you said you wanted to watch it. She was like, nah. Like, oh, okay. I'll take my bat and ball and go home then, shall I? To be fair, I did try and get my son to watch it today, and he was like, nah, I'm watching Paw Patrol. Like, dude, you gotta give up watching Paw Patrol, mate. Doubling back to the fasting, I know, but see previous statements. I weighed in this week, Monday weigh-in, so that was yesterday. Weighed in on Monday at the lowest weight ever. Great. Weighed in on Monday, lowest weight ever. That's what we want, and that's what I've had for the last 3 weeks in a row. Great, fantastic, wonderful, brilliant. Interesting thing about that is that I was 2/3 days into a fast. And I went, oh, well, this shit's about to get real interesting. There's been some big weight loss days. Like, big. Like, I had a 4 pound, I had a 3 pound. To say that these were in and around the lowest weight ever. I say ever, but, you know, we've been through this already. All I could think was, what the hell is going to happen over the next 4 days, basically? So, my current weight loss goal, this morning was £1 off. In theory, as long as nothing goes wrong, by tomorrow morning that pound should have gone, and I will be at my, what I dare say was my weight loss goal. I will then have all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and in theory, depending, all day Friday. I keep saying, when I'm talking about it, I was saying, like, I imagine £2 between today and tomorrow, and then £1 Thursday and £1 Friday. Will put me within striking distance of a new stone, a different stone. And this is the one where I'm like, holy fucking shitballs. Will put me into the stone that my height dictates I should be. Now, admittedly, I think that's using a loophole, because technically it would be a whole stone, a whole 14 pounds worth of leeway, and in theory I think I should actually drop that stone. But that's mental. It will also mean a 4 stone loss in 4 months. That in itself sounds not super healthy, so obviously there's that aspect. So yeah, some things to ponder. We'll see where we are on Monday. The problem I've got is Monday will be after a weekend of eating. Ooh, maybe not the best. We shall see. So I know what you're thinking. Why are you recording a podcast on a Tuesday? Well, it isn't to say I didn't record a podcast on Monday, because I did. I recorded the 300th episode, a special 300th episode of the Darkest Timeline podcast. This is actually episode 301. This will go out in 2 or 3 weeks, and episode 300 will already be out. It will be out tomorrow. No, I'm lying. It'll be out the day after tomorrow. Why? Well, I had a guest. Yes, I know. I don't often get guests, but it was a special episode, so I got a special guest. If you haven't seen it by now, obviously there's video, so you can physically see it. If you haven't seen it by now, it's with me and my podcast wife, Paul Williams. We discuss podcasting, basically how we made it through the pandemic and kept podcasting, what podcasting has meant over the last probably 7 or 8 years at this point, how the hell we kept going for 1,000 episodes, just how many Paul has been on, and then we play a game which then spanned another 2 parts of the podcast. So it was either really good or just really long. I thought it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed doing the episode. I enjoy, as you know, as we work out that there's probably been a couple of podcasts that me and Paul have done together. I enjoy podcasting with other people. I enjoy podcasting with Paul. I enjoy everything podcast related. So, yeah, massive thank you to anybody that's, you know, listened to even a fraction of the 300 episodes. Massive thank you to anybody that gives the podcast as a whole the time of day, or any time of the day. Yeah, seemed like a really weird place to take a drink. I know. So yeah, it was. I was about to say it was bittersweet. Absolutely not. It was very sweet. Yeah, I don't know. I think I feel quite reflective at the moment. I seem to be reflecting on a lot of stuff. Because of doing the 300th episode, and not wanting to overload too much stuff, I had to split the content. So that is actually all the stuff for the week. I know somebody was like, wait, is that the end of the podcast? No, it's not the end of the podcast. That is the end of the this week section of the podcast. So let's talk about some entertainment stuff. I watched Series 3, Episode 5 of Invincible. I don't tend to want to talk too soon, but I will say this. Having watched 5 episodes of Series 3 of Invincible, Series 3 has been fantastic so far. I'm fully aware it's not finished. By this point in time, anybody who's listened to the podcast for more than 5 minutes will know that I have this theory about TV, that Series 2 of any TV show generally sucks ass. I have this whole theory, formula, etc. And if at any point anybody wants to have a very long conversation about it, I'm happy to do that. But for right now, let's just go with Series 2 generally sucks. Series 1 of Invincible, in my personal, humble opinion, was fantastic. I'm pretty sure I watched Series 1 3 times, I think. I'm pretty sure I watched it straight through. Then I watched it again straight through. And then I think when we were coming up to Series 2 being released, there was a special episode, the Atom Eve special bumper episode type thing. And I'm pretty sure I watched Series 1 again. Going into Series 2, it's the thing that we all fear. Oh no, this TV series, or, this thing that we dedicated so much time, so much passion and all those other things to, isn't as good as we initially thought. And Series 2 wasn't. It was fine. It was okay. It had this story that ran all the way through it, this arc that ran all the way through it, that in a lot of ways didn't really seem to matter all that much. I think the best was it when he got his brother in Series 2, or was that? I think it was Series 2. The addition of the brother character, the Oliver character, has been fine. I thought they were doing. I honestly thought they were doing like a Rick and Morty rip-off at one point, but it doesn't at the moment seem to have gone that way. I think they've sort of changed it a little. But this series has been really good. It's had some decent return characters, some good voice actors. We've got some new voice talent that's turned up. They seem to be spreading the character duties around. There's some episodes that were heavy on these characters, and then they haven't been in it for a couple of episodes and stuff like that. You've got this element of like, oh, who's doing this, or is this person a good guy or a bad guy, or what's this person doing, or oh, we haven't seen that person for a couple of episodes. You've got Alan the alien. He tends to get his own sections of episodes. And there was an episode where it was like halfway through, they were like, right, we're done with that now. Let's go and see what Alan's up to. Which is, that in itself, from a voice actor perspective, you've got Seth Rogen and J.K. Simmons just bouncing off each other. I started an episode today, but I didn't get it finished, and I have added it to next week's podcast list, because technically I am into next week's podcast, and this is part of the problem. Part of the problem is that anything that's happened today, I haven't been able to add to this list because it's technically next week's content. So yes, episode 5, series 3 of Invincible, great. I always want to call the guy. I always want to call him Jeffrey Dean Morgan, but that's obviously. I'm sure most people know him as Negan. I would have called him. Yeah, I can't even remember. You see, I'm getting old. Memory's going, isn't it? Let's just look in Vince. Yep, there it is. I need. Where are the episodes? Here we go. Episodes. Do this. Might as well go to series 3 because I know that there's an episode that he was in, which is that one. And the person I am looking for is Jeffrey Donovan. There you go. Jeffrey Donovan was best known for Burn Notice. He was also the head of the bad guy gang in Wrath of Man, which is a film I thoroughly enjoy. So yeah, it's always good to get like a good. I don't know. Can you tell at this point that I have a thing for voice acting? So yeah, always good to get good, solid, strong voice actors back. Anytime Jason Mantzoukas is in it, just phenomenal. That man has a fantastic voice. So yeah. Recently, I've seen a lot of clips for a TV series that I watched the first episode of years, and I mean years, it could be 10 years ago. I watched the pilot episode, the first episode, and I went, yeah, not sure that's for me. It seemed fine. The problem was with the first episode that I watched, I went, it's just way too predictable. A lot of American TV is, I hate to say it in a particular way, so probably not. But a lot of American TV seems to be quite predictable. And me and Leanne often have this conversation where I'm like, well, it's obvious. And she's like, not to me, it isn't. And I'm like, yeah, but you just work it out. So she says it's me and it's not the TV show in question. So recently I've seen a lot of clips of this TV show and I've been like, maybe it's time to give it another whirl. I was like, if I'm honest, it might be something that me and Leanne can watch together. She'd been watching series like, I think it's like 39 of The Challenge. And I always get sucked into some of these things that she ends up watching. So we'd watch the back end of that together. And I was like, cool. So I was like, look, I've got this TV series. I want to give it a whirl. We'll watch the first episode. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it, but I think I might. Also, I was prepared to pay money for it. Found that the whole thing's on Amazon Prime. So the TV series is Blacklist. I don't know if it's The Blacklist or Blacklist. Basically, it's just James Spader being James Spader. He plays Raymond Reddington, a guy who has a list of bad guys who do bad things because he is a broker of bad guys so they can do bad things, and has suddenly, for absolutely no reason, decided to turn himself in. He's the fourth most wanted man in America. Turn himself into the FBI and work with them to help capture all these criminals. Nobody knows why. It's definitely not obvious from the very beginning. we got through the first episode, and I was like, yeah, I remember why I didn't move on with this. However, I am prepared to carry on if you are. Leanne was like, I liked it. I was like, cool. So we've watched the first... Well, at time of writing this list, wink, wink, we'd watched the first 2 episodes. What I will say is the second episode pulled me in a lot more. There was a lot less predictability. There was a lot less of that, oh, we know something you don't. And there was a lot more, this is what the show is going to be. This is how the show is going to work. It's Monster of the Week, but this is Bad Guy of the Week. So far, we've had a guy with chemical weapons and somebody with human trafficking. I know that I'm probably going to end up. The main premise of it is that James Spader's character just knows more than everybody else in the room. That's the whole principle of the entire show. James Spader's character knows everything. You'll never know anything. He knows it all. And I'm pretty sure there's 7 series. So I'm a bit like, is that going to get annoying past a certain point? Because I don't know. I've seen a lot of clips of this TV series. I've watched little videos on YouTube, little YouTube shorts and stuff like that. And I've been like, yeah. It looks good. It watches well, all that. So it's that thing. Now that Leanne's on board with it, I imagine we'll just watch it. I can't see that there'll be a point in time where we bail. I have got a film that I want us to watch. That I bought a physical movie. So you have to sort of set aside the time to say, hey, let's watch this film. That's TV, son. Let's talk about some computer games. We went back to Star Wars Outlaws. Again, at time of writing this list, my notes were I might just give up. I got into a conversation with somebody recently about this game in particular, and I was saying, imagine Jedi... Was it Fallen Order? Jedi Survivor? Let's not talk about Jedi Survivor. Let's talk about Jedi Fallen Order. Imagine Jedi Fallen Order, but you take out all of the Jedi stuff. What are you left with? Because that is Star Wars Outlaws. Now, I will say this, and I'll sort of hold my hands up on this one and say this. Somebody, a friend of mine has come to me recently and gone, oh, I'm really enjoying Star Wars Outlaws. And I was like, really? I think I might actually low-key hate it. They're like, oh no, once you get to be able to do, and then they rattled off this list of stuff. They were like, once you can do this, and this, and this, and this, and, you know, to be able to do some of these things, you've got to find clues to help you out that will help you. And I was like, oh, well, I haven't done a single one of those things. They were like, have you got off the first planet? I was like, nope, still stuck on the first planet. Still trying to fix the spaceship. They were like, okay, maybe focus on getting off the planet. I was like, okay then. Now, I'll give you a little insight here. I have had opportunity to play it again since, and find out how that went next week. Boo. I purchased a game. That's a lie. That is a dirty, filthy, horrible lie. Kind of. I have got a games embargo at the moment. I'm not allowing myself to buy any games, and I have to stick with what I've got and play through what I've got. I have got PlayStation games from Christmas. It's currently the 4th of March, and I've got games from Christmas still in its wrapper. I have got games that I bought in the sales in December on Steam that I haven't even looked at. I've got VR games. I've got all this. I've got this games embargo. If only there was a loophole. If only there was a way round the embargo. Because I got an email. It was like, hey, a game on your wish list is on sale. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, I hate these emails. And it was like, hey, Splinter Cell Conviction, it's on sale, £6. I was like, fuck, bro. And then I had a look at it and it was like, oh, you can't buy Splinter Cell Conviction. Can't buy it. No price. I was like, okay. However, you can buy a bundle of 4 Splinter Cell games for £6. I was like, shit. Now then, everything I'm going to go on to say falls into this loophole. The loophole is, for Valentine's Day, I got a Steam voucher. The very explicit instructions were, this is to buy yourself a game. So technically, if I used that voucher, I'm not buying myself a game, am I? But there's a problem. And we know what that problem is. And that problem is that Splinter Cell Conviction does not work on the Steam Deck. It is unsupported. And not only is it unsupported, it doesn't work. Every single time I've Googled it, it's like, nah, mate, don't work. Broken. And it's never been fixed. It's never been working. I was like, shit. Just have a quick Google just to make absolutely 100% sure that is the case. And I found a post from very recent saying, oh, by the way, I don't know if this is of any interest to anyone. Splinter Cell Conviction has had an update and now works out of the box. Here's some instructions. When you get these 2 screens pop up in the loading, just cancel them. Accept them, do whatever. Once you've done that, the game works perfectly fine. Works well. It works really well. I think it was like 90 FPS or something. I don't really know what that means. That's not true. I don't know what it means. I just don't know what relevance it really has. I'm like, this is like it's meant to be. Because I had another email about another game, but we'll get to that in a second. So, £6, 4 games. 3 of them I absolutely will not be able to play on the Steam Deck and have very little interest in. One of those 3 I would be slightly interested to play. I can guarantee that it will never work on the Steam Deck, so I was a bit like, yeah, whatever. I got Conviction, I got it installed, I got it up and running. And the person was right. The game loads, you say, I'm fine with the error that you've found. It does some more loading. It goes into the upplay thing, but it doesn't. I've got it set now so that it does all that automatically. I'm like, this is cool. Another warning. Are you okay with this? Yes, I'm okay. And there we were. Main screen, baby. That was kind of where it stopped because there were no controls. But I remember seeing something on the internet that said when you get to the main screen, use the touch screen to get through the main screen and then you're away. You're golden. I was like, cool, I'll use that. So I used the touch screen, got into the game loaded up, everything hunky-dory, and away we go. I was like, fuck me, it works. Brilliant. No controls at all. Nothing. Nothing works. Nothing. So I started going through all the controller settings through the Steam Deck. Steam Deck has its own set of like, if this doesn't work, try, what about this type? I went through as many as I could try that I thought might work. Nothing worked. And that was that. I had to give it up as a bad job. That was day 1. Day 2, I refuse to believe that this game does not work. So, load the game up, go into the thing, use the screen, get us through the screen. I'm like, right, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try the other. Nothing. Not a peep. Did a Google. Why doesn't this work? Oh, sometimes you have to change the control mapping. Just go into the folder and type this massive block of code out. I was like, I am not doing that. Somebody on the internet said this game works. Somebody else said, yes, this game works. That is enough for me to pay £6 to buy the game to get it working. It's one of those games that I thoroughly enjoy. I think it had some amazing mechanics, and it baffles me why franchises like this just get left. So, but I understand there was a game after Splinter Cell Conviction, which is called Splinter Cell Blacklist. I've played it recently, and it's a banger. Conviction probably did some things better. Blacklist had a load of issues through its development and its release, and it kind of killed the franchise, which personally I don't think it should have done. I think the expectations were set too high, and the development was not good. And if you put 2 and 2 together, yeah. I went through everything I could think. I Googled and Googled and Googled, and ultimately, in the end, I had to give up. That was day 2. Day 3. Right. It's time to shit or get off the pot. So, we need to make a decision here. Am I just getting this refunded because it doesn't work? Or is there some magical, mythical way that I can do this? I'm not prepared to type out a load of code because that's not for me. Now, I have done it to 2 or 3 games already, but I don't like it, and I don't want to have to do it. I load the game up. I was like, what if, because the touch screen works, what if I can use that to get through some like options? Okay, there's an option for settings. Great start. Maybe I can find something in there. Go into the settings using the touchscreen. There is a section for controls. I'm like, here we go. This might give me some insight into the getting this game working. Let's have a look. I go into the controls section, and there is a box, and the title of the box is Use Controller. And that box was not ticked. So I ticked it using the touchscreen, and then I was able to use the controls. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? One tiny problem. All of the buttons were incorrectly mapped. And to crazy degrees. I had to use what would be on a controller, like the select button, to shoot. Right trigger, reload. Some of the buttons were right. They were correctly mapped, but the majority were not. And I even tried playing the game with this control mapping in. I was like, fuck, mate, this is boned. But because I'd done a lot of Googling up to this point, I'd seen a mention of the fact that there was an issue with the control mapping. So, back to the internet, did a little googly-moogly. And I saw a mention of something that was saying that in there is a community layout for the controller that just changes all the buttons to the way it should be. So I went through the community layouts. I think it was the last one on the list. Selected it, and away we go. The only button that's missing is reload, which, yeah, it would be nice. But to get all the rest of the buttons, I'm kind of happy with that. And that was that. Away we go. Let my eldest have a go. I was like, yeah, play this for a second. I've just got to do something. I honestly thought that she'd just be like, I don't know what the fuck this is, and just leave it. I came back, she was fully engrossed, fully engaged with it. I was like, you like this? She's like, yeah. She's like, what do we do with this? So we were sort of taking turns and stuff, and I was like, oh, this game, it's not about run and gun. It's about moving through the world slowly, silently, in the dark, that sort of stuff. On one hand, it annoys me that I have to do so much to get something working. On the other hand, I stuck with it and I got it to work, and I was like, yay me, I did it, I did a thing. I will hold my hands up and then say this was not the only game that I bought with a voucher. I had an email saying that Arcane Age, the VR game that has not been out too long, was on sale for the first time. It's one that I'd kind of really wanted to try. I wasn't prepared to pay full price because there was something about it that wasn't quite grabbing me, and I was a bit like, I don't want to give you 40 quid for this game, so let's leave it there. It went on sale for a lot less than £40, and I went, perfect, let's give it a go. And initial reports were not great. It's got a mechanic in it that didn't work properly. You've got climbing axes. And you get them out by flicking the wrist. So basically you hold the controllers and you flick your hands, and the stem, the handles come up, and then you press the grip button and the blades come out. And it didn't work. I could get one to work sometimes. The other was like, nah, mate, I'm having none of it. Over time, I think it was more of the mechanic isn't quite there, and I wasn't quite doing the flick right, so I got that. Interesting take. I did the tutorial, got through the tutorial fine. Did the first part of the first bit of the first level, couldn't do it, too hard. I'm like, cool. Had to turn it off, went back to it the next day, tried to do that bit again. Found that the way the game saves is it does that if you've killed this enemy and then it saves without, that enemy is dead. So when I went back to a particular area, that area was empty. There were no enemies. I was like, okay, cool, I'll just move on. But then it turned into a bit more of a puzzle thing. We had to do sort of like an underwater section. I had to do that sort of stuff. And the more I played it, weirdly, the more I got into it. I started enjoying it. What I thought initially was quite hard, the more I played it, it wasn't as hard as I necessarily thought. Still a couple of mechanics I'm unsure about. I was convinced I'd picked up a weapon blueprint, and I'd been through this thing that was like, this is how you use weapon blueprints, and you do this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. When I went to try and use it, no dice. So I kind of passed the point where I would want to refund it, and I think I'm just going to stick with it. Just, play it more and see how we get on. This one's going to be a little harder to justify. There's another game on a different platform. There's another voucher situation on another platform. On the standalone Meta, I still had money left over from Christmas in the account, and there was this game which I'd been umming and ahhing about for ages. And it's a really long story to justify me going back on something that I set myself. Ultimately, it's all fine. I haven't broken any rules that I made up for myself. It just sounds like I did. Let's say that and leave it there. I bought the game Dead Effect 2. You're on a spaceship and you're shooting zombies. And that is basically it. It has ripped off Dead Space as much as humanly possible without calling itself Dead Space. And has changed the monsters in Dead Space to zombies. Outside of that, pretty much Dead Space. You are cybernetically enhanced super soldier who is dying. You can buy a variety of augmentations for your body, which seem to make absolutely zero difference. You can upgrade your weapons. You can buy new weapons. You can change weapons. You can have different weapons. You can do whatever you want with weapons. And those upgrades seem to make absolutely no difference. And you've got superpowers. So far, I've got this lightning thing that only works if you stood right in front of the zombie. And remember, you've got it. Because a lot of guns are either you can dual wield, or you can have a machine gun, shotgun, whatever, so it's two-handed. So remembering that you've got this thing on the back of your left hand, not often the case. Now, I've made this sound not great so far, but that is not the case. I am thoroughly enjoying this game. I've spent, honestly, probably a couple of months umming and ahhing about this. It was a £15 game. And I must have watched 10 different review videos, and honestly, I haven't seen a bad review of it. Apparently, it is a VR conversion of a flat game. When I looked up both the flat and the VR on Steam, they were expensive. So I was like, that was kind of one of the things that sunk it for me. I used the last of my Meta cash from Christmas and bought it, and so far have not been disappointed. The graphics are not super fantastic whiz bang graphics, but they're good enough. And like I often say, something that seems to be missing from a lot of stuff these days is it fun? And this one is. It's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it up to this point. I did get to a boss that I couldn't beat and had to sort of turn it off and go to bed. It wasn't a rage quit situation. It was I'll leave that there for now. And it was one of those where it was dealing with a boss where I had absolutely no idea how to kill this boss. Like, literally no idea. At one point in time, I was doing damage. Don't know how or why. So I'll have to go back to that at some point. It's a busy podcast week this week. I was podcasting last night. I'm podcasting this evening, and I think, double podcasting tomorrow. It's all right though, because next week will be a lot easier. Absolutely not. I've got many podcasts over many days. All self-inflicted. I am absolutely not complaining. Just saying it kind of reduces the game playing time. Finally, I kind of bought my eldest a game-related gift. But it didn't hurt what it was, let's put it that way. I bought her the DLC for Power Wash Simulator VR, which is the Back to the Future DLC. Not going to lie, it didn't start strong. The first thing it wanted you to clean was the van from the first one, the one that the DeLorean rolls out of. I was like, come on, that was the first thing to clean? Really? But whatever. What I will say is it's cool being able to do, cleaning stuff from Back to the Future. It was like £6.50 for the DLC. I have cleaned the DeLorean. With it being a DLC, I think it adds some things that I don't feel were in the standard standalone game. However, it has seemed to add something that I really don't like. When you are cleaning in the standalone, normal, bog standard Power Simulator VR, or the other one, it doesn't always seem to care if you get 100%. You can get 90% of stuff to 100%, most things to 97, 98%, and it gives you that bit of leeway of, I just can't find the bit you want me to clean. Get it close is good enough, and then you're done. This doesn't do that. This wants 100% of absolutely everything. And so far, it's been a bit of a pain in the ass. Other than that, like I say, it's a lot of fun. I managed to get up to the courthouse clock tower bit. And I did a bit of that, but I was like, I'm going to turn this off for now. And that was that. So we shall see whether either of us play any more of that at any point in the near future. And that, ladies and gents, is that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And I will catch you next time. So there we go. What do you think of that? Episode 301 in the bag. Wow. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being here. Before you leave us, do consider clicking that like. Share the podcast around. Subscribe if you haven't. It's always good to get a good subscribe. What else? Leave a review. Reviews are important. Leave one. Do it. Be a buddy. Be a birdie. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. We've got social media links and an email button. That way you can get in touch with us if you want to. That is it for this one. Join me for our next podcast on the road to 600. Until then, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this awesome Cookie Cast.